So, who should be in Kombat Pack 2? Well, that's not the question we're answering today. Today, we're answering who do I think should be in Kombat Pack 2? Because that's what we're here for. It's my channels, my rules, and I have a few of them. So the first is that if the character is already in the game as either a character or a cameo, they won't be on the list. Suck it, cyborg nerds. The next rule is that I will follow the same format as Kombat Pack 1. This means 3 Mortal Kombat characters, 3 guest characters, and 5 cameos. Just so that you guys know, I started playing NetherRealm games back when Injustice 1 came out. I actually didn't even know it was a fighting game. I just saw Batman and Superman fighting and I was like, I want that game. And so 11-year-old me went to the store, picked it up, and through the first Scorpion DLC is what I learned of Mortal Kombat's existence. So while I did play Mortal Kombat 9 because my uncle had a copy and he let me borrow it, but the first Mortal Kombat that I actually owned was MKX. So don't shoot me if I'm not familiar with your Tavens, your Otarus, or your Mocaps, or any of those other obscure 3D characters that will probably never see the light of day again, other than maybe cameos. Without further ado, here are my picks for Kombat Pack 2. So the first pick in the Kombat Pack draft is going to be Kotal Khan. So Kotal is my favorite MK character through and through. He might not be canonically the strongest or really the smartest, but his design to me is so cool, and that's what makes him, my favorite of all time. He looks like an Aztec god, and that makes him stand out head and shoulders above the other members of the roster, design-wise. Hopefully he can keep his sword, because I know for Shao Kahn they changed his warhammer to a battle axe. But hopefully they can keep his sword, and they find cool, unique ways to play him. Mortal Kombat 11 was a little tame gameplay-wise, but maybe he can have new buffs that make more of his moves launchers, maybe negate cooldowns on cameos, negate meter drain. These are some ideas they can maybe explore. His buffs in MK11 were cool, but I'd like for them to spice things up a little bit. Also, there isn't a true grappler in the game yet. As of recording this video, Chameleon should be dropping next week. And so as of right now, there isn't like a true grappler. If you want to count Reiko, I guess he's got one command grab, but I don't really count him as a grappler because he can zone you from across the screen. But anyways, giving him some command grabs, kind of like Zangief in Street Fighter 6, where he's got a standing one, he's got a low one, and then he's got one that he runs at you. That would be really cool. He's my #1 requested character. So if anyone is going to make this list, I really hope it's this guy. So with that being said, let's pray to the Mortal Kombat gods and Ed Boon, please put Kotal Khan in the game. So just in case you guys still wanted to watch the set going on in the background, I have Cabal as my first cameo. Now before I get into why I picked him, I want to make sure that every cameo in the game, I want them to bring something new to the table. I don't want just someone that we've already seen. I want them to actually be unique. So the reason I chose Cabal was that I want him to be able to change the movement of other fighters. So he's a speedster, and he has a jetpack or whatever the thing is that lets him air dash in MK11. I would love it if a cameo could allow the character to speed up their play. So imagine someone like Shao Kahn or Garrus with an air dash. I think that'd be really sick. Obviously, he would use his buzzsaws to be able to zone the opponent. He can maybe use his nomad dash as a restand, and his hook slams as like powerful launchers. I think this would bring something entirely different to the game, and that's why I chose him. So my second pick for characters is going to be Jade. Jade kind of got left out of the party for whatever reason this time around. But with the amount of people that want her playable, I don't think she'll end up being left out when everything's said and done with this game. This would actually be the first time in a long time that the big 4 would be playable. So Melina, Kitana, Tanya, and Jade. Actually, I don't even know if they're the big 4. I think they just have pretty colors, and that's about it. I think they'll be able to do cool stuff with her, judging by Chameleon's cameo. She'll be able to rival Tanya in the mid-range, assuming she keeps her staff. Deflection and rejection of projectiles are probably what they're going to maybe focus on or maybe have in her kit. And also having a lot of mid-range overheads and lows. I don't really have any ideas to change her up, but if you have any ideas, let me know what y'all think. My next cameo is going to be Devora. So I think much like Kotal, Devora has one of the best designs in all of Mortal Kombat. Her game plan in MK1 was mostly set play with her bugs, and so I would like for that to make a return in this game. I've seen as a trend, there's not a lot of cameos that allow for traps, so maybe she'll be the one that kind of brings that into the thing. And hopefully by this time, all the assists are ambush assists, and again, I don't know if that's going to be the case, but I would love it for that to be the case. So assuming that they're all ambush assists, she can place traps that launch the opponent up, right? So the little ground explosion things that she can do, or lock them down using her wasps. And I think surrounding the opponent with wasps would also be a cool concept where they're either slowed or they take damage or both, or even give your dead character a revive with one of her bugs. You know, like let's say your character dies and then her bug kind of goes in you and then you get like a 10% health left, kind of like a last stand. And in MKX she had an air throw, so maybe that's something that could be used as well. It was really cool conceptually. I just didn't really play her in MK11 because at the time she wasn't very strong. But I would definitely like to see her as a cameo. I think that would be really cool. My third pick in the Mortal Kombat draft is going to be Noob Saibot. So we got to finish out the ninjas. So here we go. I really hope it's the last one and I don't get flamed in the comments. So Noob in Mortal Kombat 11 was actually my second character. The clone attacks and his sickle were the things that really drew me. Here, I feel like we can get a lot crazier on the Saibot attacks. Again, like MK11 gameplay-wise was a little tame, but even those big boy like Saibot combos were really fun to do. But I think we can like kind of upgrade that. So maybe make him akin to like Zato in Guilty Gear. Assuming we do go that route, I think we can make him really strong, but also a meter management character. And so far, no one in the cast has something like that. And we can reimagine him where the two are not just replicas of one another, but maybe Saibot is like a shadow monster of some sort. Specifically because Bihan right now in the story is Sub-Zero and, you know, he hasn't died. So having a replica of him doesn't make sense narratively, but, you know, they could do whatever they want. DLC characters aren't necessarily considered canon, so. But yeah, by adding him, it would basically finish out the rainbow of ninjas that we have in the game. My third cameo is going to be Scarlet. So if the other colored ninjas are in the game, we should let Scarlet cook. So for her, I like the idea of her being able to consistently heal your character. She would do it by stealing the blood of your opponent, using traps, projectiles, and her scythe. I'm thinking like hard knockdowns or launchers with her scythe. I played a good amount with her in MK11 and I really liked her design and gameplay then. And hopefully they can come up with some cool stuff. Yeah, just having a character that can constantly heal you seems like a lot of fun. And it's something unique to that the game doesn't have so far. We get into the guest characters section. And the first pick, I'm going to go the Baba Yaga, John Wick. So I think this is a no-brainer for two reasons. The first is that we don't have a gunslinger in the game yet. Not even Stryker uses his gun. We're getting Peacemaker soon, but we don't know how he's going to play as of right now. The second reason is that we would get Keanu Reeves voicing the character, and that'd be really cool. There's not really much to talk about, except for the myriad of weapons that he can use against you. Combat shotguns, handguns, assault rifles, snipers, knives, pencils, he's got it all. His fatalities would be sick, and if they want, they could just do a one-to-one recreation from the movies. Is he a normal human? That depends on what you define as normal. And should he be in the game? Absolutely. So my fourth pick for cameos is going to be Kung Jin. So both Takeda and Kung Jin, inexplicably, as a war crime, were left out of Mortal Kombat 11. This game should be their revenge. Cassie and Jackie go away until MK17. We don't have a bow user in this game, so why not add Kung Jin so he could fight alongside Takeda? He can obviously shoot his arrows at the opponent, and that would grant different status effects, kind of like they did in MKX, where some of them kind of like did more damage or things like that. And he can maybe have a really big armored hit with his staff that launches the opponent full screen, or maybe he can be as a juggle. Or I was thinking things like doing volley, like a volley of arrows, like Hawkeye does in MVC3. I think that'd be pretty cool. So Kung Jin would be my pick for the fourth cameo in the Kombat Pack. My fifth pick for the Kombat Pack is going to be somewhat controversial, and you might kill me. It's another boys character. I chose Soldier Boy. I absolutely love the boys. I haven't read the comics, but I know a lot about the lore and all that stuff. And obviously in the comics, Soldier Boy is a completely different character than he's in the show. So I want the show version. So I was really torn between him and Butcher. Ultimately, I went with Soldier Boy due to the variety that we can get with him gameplay wise. And if we're putting in someone like John Wick, Butcher's not all that different, and he actually fights a little bit less skillfully than John Wick, so I just thought Soldier Boy would be a good way to mix it up if I would have to choose between those two. He also fits the theme of the evil superhero, as we've seen through Kombat Pack 1, right? We had 3 kind of evil superheroes, more or less, in quotation marks. I would fully want him to play with both his shield, his guns, grenades, and his fists. The way I imagined he would play is that his shield would be an item, much like Shao Kahn's axe, where he could pick it up and throw it and have a different set of moves depending on where his shield is. I always liked Captain America throwing his shield, and even though in the show Soldier Boy hasn't done it yet, fuck it, we ball. His shield can maybe deflect projectiles or power through them, like kind of ram through them. He could use his beam to maybe remove special moves from the opponent or remove cameos for a short while. There's a lot of variability as to how they can make them work. In MK11, I like the idea of a pseudo relationship between the guest characters. Excluding Joker because he was probably contractually obligated by Warner Brothers, people always had a dream match between Terminator and RoboCop, and between Stallone and Arnold. So those 3 characters made a nice little pyramid. In this case, the tip of that pyramid would be Homelander, because he would have another evil Superman in Omni-Man, another American icon or hero, right, in Peacemaker, and his dad, Soldier Boy, which his powers derive from. Soldier Boy, being an evil Captain America, pairs nicely with DC's evil Captain America, which is Peacemaker. I know this is not a pyramid anymore, but you get the point. I would love to see Soldier Boy and Jensen Ankles, however you pronounce his last name, I'm horrible with it. I hope that he makes it into the game. My final pick for cameos is going to be Aaron Black. So it would be an absolute disservice to not include Aaron Black in some shape or form. He's way too cool looking of a character not to have him in the game. We don't have a gunslinger in the game, as I mentioned with John Wick. And what better than Outworld's finest? Nothing too complicated here. He shoots his gun from different angles across the screen. He can have his cow traps. And please give him the low slide, give him acid, and give him that overhead drop kick. That would be the funniest brutality ever if he can do that as a cameo. So my 5th and final pick for cameos would be Aaron Black. Now, number 6, the final character in the Kombat Pack. For me, I want Carnage. This pick would break ground in a lot of ways. For one, it would be the first time that NetherRealm handles a Marvel character. There were rumors of a Marvel game before MK1 was announced, and maybe this could be a little test run, a little dipping their toe in the water to see if they can, one, handle it, and if the fans are receptive to it. It would also be the first time that a DC and Marvel character could fight each other that isn't Fortnite. I know Capcom already has Venom in their Marvel vs. Capcom series, so that's one of the reasons that I chose Carnage over Venom. I really want to see how creative they can get with that symbiote. Visually, he's going to look great, but I want to see how they can incorporate the symbiote into the game. They've had a little practice with Spawn, but that's not really the same. Carnage can use his entire body as weapons, making blades and projectiles out of his limbs. Plus, Carnage is a ruthless killer, so he fits perfectly with the rest of the cast. So those were my picks. Do you hate them? Do you love them? Let me know in the comment section below. If you want to flame me for not including anyone past 2011, go ahead. I'd love to hear it. So yeah, let me know what you think. Drop a like and subscribe. This has been Who's Next?